I'm Michael Craig Martin, and I'm about to have an exhibition at the Gagosian Museum of Fine Art. I'm very pleased with the scope of the exhibition because it goes from my early work in the late 60s, early 70s, right up to the present day. And it gives a picture of how my work has developed over those years. I've always been interested in using different processes, and I've made paintings on canvas and on aluminium. I've done a lot of printmaking. I make sculptures in steel. I've done wall drawings, installations. I like the idea that if you change the process, you can change the possibility of what you can do. I'm particularly happy with the sculptures because when they are in the landscape, as you move around them, the landscape slips through the sculpture because the sculptures are all transparent. They're just line drawings. And so you're able to hold the image of the object while at the same time having the work itself constantly change. And you're very conscious of that visual change. When I first started to work in the late 60s, I was making objects, and the first objects I made were boxes. From making my own objects, I then started to use ready-made objects. I used buckets and shelves and tables and bottles, and ultimately I made the oak tree, which is made from a glass of water. And doing that work was a kind of culmination of the early work. After that, over the next few years, I started to become interested, rather than using actual objects, to using images of objects. Because the possibility that you can make an image of something and see the thing that's been imaged is an amazing human capacity. And we do it so easily. It's so much part of our nature. We don't even know, we're not even conscious of what a miracle it is. I came to painting very late, really, in my career. I started in the late 70s with wall drawings. In the early 90s, the wall drawings, I was doing an installation, and for the first time, I introduced color. Initially, the color was to do with the installation, so it was painted rooms. In the exhibition, there will be 2 rooms that are painted. Through the process of doing the installations, I then gradually developed a way of making freestanding paintings, which developed really from the installations. Really, the basis of all my work has been to do with an interest in ordinary experience, ordinary objects, ordinary materials, things that are available to everyone. I've been trying to make work that's not exclusive, that's not hierarchical, that's not authoritarian, that tries to reveal the possibilities of ordinary experience. What happened for me in the early 90s was in using ordinary house paints, commercially available house paints, of finding a range of colors that enabled me to paint whole rooms, but in painting every room a different color and taking each color at its most simple and intense. They're just ordinary colors that were familiar to us. They are the palette. When you buy a box of paints, these are the colors in the box, and I use the same colors everybody else does. The only thing is, I don't mix them. I don't diminish them. I use them in their purest way. And when I painted the first rooms in the gallery and people came, there was a kind of magic that happened for the people who came. And for the first time, I had the experience of people laughing in an exhibition, being joyful in an exhibition, because people had the sense that they were walking into the work, that they were entering the world of the work themselves. 2 years ago, I had a retrospective exhibition at the Royal Academy of Art in London, and I was asked to do an immersive digital installation, which was something in scope that I had never really attempted before. When I started to work on Cosmos, I gave my technical assistant images of 400 different objects, all in color. And I said, here is the vocabulary, show me what we can do with it. And then he showed me things that were so astonishing, I just couldn't believe my eyes that what he could do, but could be done with these things. It was something very special because I draw now, today, in exactly the same way I did in 1978 when I started to make these drawings of ordinary objects. That meant that all the drawings that I've done over all those years have the same character. Cosmos becomes a compendium, in a sense, of almost everything I've ever done. And very few works of art can do that, of bringing together in a single work the actual elements that have been the basis of one's work over a full lifetime. It would be very nice to think that people would leave the exhibition and look at the world, the familiar world around them in a different way, that their sense of the world that they live in has been altered in a positive way, that they value it differently. I think we need to value the things that we do and the things around us, and to see the importance of what we do and not to dismiss it as unimportant, but to see it as having its real importance in the nature of life itself.